Here at GoIndieNow, we're big fans of Multiverse, if you can't already tell. And when we were asked if we wanted to help get the word out about Multiverse and the many facets of it and the many people involved, of course we jumped at the chance to do so. And in doing so, we've created this great show for you here that you're going to see. And so, what is Multiverse? Well, here is the great Jesse Adams to tell you all about it.
We are a convention for fans from all backgrounds, any fans of science fiction, fantasy, horror, gaming, art, and generally just anything geeky at all. That's been one of the fun parts, is expanding outside of like traditional fandom, and because we realize that like people have different kind of stuff they nerd out about, right? It could be history or science or fountain pens, whatever it is. The common thread is that there's a strong interest in something that you want to share with people. So that's the point of conventions in my book, but also Multiverse in particular, is let everybody get together in an environment where everybody feels welcomed and included, like genuinely included. And it happens every October, third weekend of every October. This year it's October 20th through 22nd. In Atlanta, which I figure most people know, at the Westin Atlanta Perimeter North. All the stuff's at multiversecon.org.
In this first episode, we welcome the director of the Geek Fantasy track, Mr. Marcus Haynes. Mr. Marcus Haynes writes also under the pseudonym M. Haynes. He's a YA and fantasy author. Then, in our second part of our show, we'll welcome our friend Jim Nettles. Jim is also a fantasy author and a nonfiction author. He also runs the Con-tinual convention and is the Dean of Business for the Speculative Fiction Academy. Then we'll also take a look at a hidden gem at this wonderful con in Multiverse called the Con Suite. All that tonight. Here's your host, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our brand new, pseudo show, I guess, but I'm really happy to do this and highlight one of my favorite things that I love to do every year since I've started doing it a couple of years ago, which is the Multiverse and the Multiverse Convention. And this year it's going to take place on October 20th through the 22nd. You're going to hear all about all of that and all that fun stuff. And I have a couple guests with me tonight that we'll talk to. One is who's right to my right there, Mr. M. Haynes. And we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about what he does at Multiverse and all that fun stuff. So welcome to all of you watching. And nice to see you, Tiffany. Hello, AF Stewart. And so, Mr. Haynes, I did a little pseudo intro there, but I'm not sure I did it complete justice. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background and who you are?
Oh no, you did fine. But yes, so I am M. Haynes. I am an author, an educator, blogger. I wear a lot of hats. But I think probably the most important one that I'm going to be talking about tonight is the hat that I wear as the director of the Geek Fantasy track at Multiverse. So yeah, I'm a lover of fantasy in all of its forms, and really excited to talk a bit about the track, myself, and Multiverse in general.
How long have you been running the fantasy track since it started, or when did you get involved with running the track?
So I began running the track in 2020, but I was there the first year. I was a guest the first year. Nice.
So with the fantasy track, there is certain things that are going to be expected. I think on the top of the list, of course, the two big ones, being the Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. But what are some of the nuancing ones that you guys talk about? Some of the nuanced subjects that you kind of embrace, and what can we expect this year? Have you started planning for what you're going to do this year, and kind of give us an insight into how you decide what goes when into the fantasy track?
Okay, sneak preview, great. So kind of building off of what you said, we did talk, we had a panel about both of those prequel series, The Ring of Power and both of those things with last year. So we do kind of talk about the standards, the Game of Thrones, the Lord of the Rings, etc. But One thing that I really like to do is really kind of incorporate fantasy in those places that we don't really talk about it as much. I'm a big gamer, so I've been constantly trying to incorporate, video games into the track. Talking about some of the fantasy style video games. I'm also a huge Legend of Zelda fan, so we definitely talk about that. Um,
The old
and to
school
kind of
one,
so,
the old school one from the Nintendo days.
oh, all of them if we can.
Nice.
So kind of to bridge off of that though, something that we're going to be talking about this year is we're really expanding over into like tabletop gaming to kind of talk a bit about, of course, the kind of influence. And with something like the Dungeons and Dragons movie having come out, we also want to talk a bit about like adaptations. And then, of course, there are some standards, some things that we try to incorporate. Like, I think now we're pretty famous for the games on the track. So we always want to keep those there, as well as just a couple of other things, that we want to touch on. We always focus on things like witches, dark fantasy, and even some fandom related stuff that really we see a lot in these fantasy properties. So yeah, we got a wide range of really good stuff.
Do you focus on subgenres at all? Because fantasy has so many little subgenres.
Yes, yes, yes. So, myself and my assistant director, Will Lawson, we do a lot of stuff with like different subgenres. Last year, our opening panel was talking about some of those different subgenres that kind of go into the genre. And this year, with Guest of Honor being who they are, we definitely want to touch on to things like Sword and Soul and some of those different ways that fantasy can manifest itself.
What is your favorite game? What are you playing right now that you are enjoying?
Right now, I'm playing a decent amount of Pokemon, so I have that. Anxiously awaiting the new Legend of Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom. What else am I playing right now? I'm always playing one of my favorite games that came out during like 2020. I'm always playing bits of Hades. So yeah, that's probably about all I have time for now. So
Yeah, I understand that. you, the interesting thing about multiverse in particular when it comes to these tracks and the idea of them is the celebration of diversity and inclusion in a lot of what these tracks are doing. And fantasy has had a very toxic background at times, especially with the two big ones we mentioned. There's a lot of people who stand firm to what they believe in that aspect. But I mean, talk a little bit about how much you appreciate. Is that something that you do appreciate? Is that there's diversity, inclusion, and how much of that are you mixing into what you're doing programming wise?
Oh, absolutely. That's something like even if that wasn't one of the main marquees of multiverse, that would be something that myself as a track director would definitely want to incorporate a lot. Because there is so much. One of the things we talk about when we mention or kind of describe fantasy is it's really only limited by the limits of your imagination.
Mm.
So if you can imagine it, if you can imagine, whatever, whoever, you can do it. So with our track, we often try to kind of incorporate those different experiences or different ways that fantasy kind of engages with those. We usually always try to incorporate panels that focus in on different marginalized groups, people with different abilities, women in fantasy, queer people in fantasy, et cetera, et cetera. So there's something that's really kind of at the core of what we do with the fantasy track.
We need to be careful about spoilers because the boss is watching right now. But I'm wondering, you're somebody who's an author who goes around and you've attended other cons and everything like that. Has there been certain things that you've taken from other cons that you've found that you've incorporated into the current curriculum of your track right now? Is there some things that you've kind of gravitated toward that you like that you've incorporated?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a regular attendee at Dragon Con. So I, kind of
big
flit around.
fantasy con.
Yeah. So I'm always like sitting around and listening and looking and like, that's a good idea. Maybe I could use that. Interestingly enough, one of the things that I guess one of the more visible things that I kind of picked up from my time at other cons is a simple thing, just the decorations, how the rooms are set
Oh,
up.
neat.
Um, I picked this up from the YA track at Dragon Con because they usually have a lot of decorations that are around the room, and there's stuff, posters of people who are on the panels, so you can look at their books and things of that sort. So that was something I thought would really kind of work with the track. And that has helped a lot because you have people who will come in just to see what we have up that day. And they really, and once they get in, they're like, hey, come on, sit down, listen in.
All right, so I want to do something before we're going to talk about you and your writing here as well, because that's why you're here as well. But I want to do something fun with you because as I was mentioning off the air, you have one of my favorite things that happens on a track, one of the favorite programs, and I've yet to be able to do it because I just get pulled away from something else or doing something different or whatever. But it's called The Hill.
Mhm.
So explain to people what the Hill is and what it's about, because I think a lot of people who might be attending this year may want to jump in there because it's a rowdy, it's one of those everybody participates kind of
Mhm.
panels, right? So
Yes.
talk a little bit about it and what it's all about.
So the hill is one of the two sort of like constant games that we do on the track, and this one is about pretty much presenting your hot takes on fantasy properties. I know that may sound like, oh, they could get dicey, but we really make it fun for people. We have our panelists, and then we invite anyone who's attending the actual panel to participate. And essentially, it's just like things that you feel strongly about, you feel passionate about, and once you kind of give your spiel, we have the audience to say like, okay, like which one is the spiciest take or what have you. And we kind of repeat that just as a way just to kind of be able to talk about the things that we love and the things that we wish were better or wish we could see more of even in the genre. So it's a fun time. We moderate it pretty well so it doesn't get too dicey, but it's a really good time because everyone gets to be able to just talk about the stuff that they love.
Okay, so I have two questions, and then
Okay.
then I want to incorporate what you just said. But so the first question is, has there been anybody who's died on a hill in the panels you've participated in this particular panel that going into it you didn't agree with, but they convinced you otherwise?
For me, yes. Actually, it was last year that I think about it. They were giving an argument about some of the DC shows, and I'm a big DC fan. So they like started off kind of, it was the kind of thing like, oh, well, DC is lolling off and so on and so forth. Like, yeah, whatever, what have you. But the way that they framed it, because it wasn't so much as like a bad thing, it was like I see potential and I want so much more. I was like,
Mm.
you convinced me. I agree.
All right, and then the other thing I want to ask you is, I would like to hear you. What hill would you like to die on our show right now? Because
Oh boy.
I would love to you to give us some one of. You can do from previous ones that you've done before if you want to. That's fine because nobody. I mean, some people probably were there to see it, but a lot of my audience probably wasn't there before. So if you want, if because I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if you want to give us one hill you're willing to die on.
Okay, so this was actually mine from this past multiverse, and it turned very interesting. I'll say that. Um, my heel was Loki, the Disney Plus Marvel show, was the worst Disney Plus Marvel show.
Whoa.
Because they attempted to frame this as like in the advertising, they framed it as like this buddy cop, with him and Owen Wilson. I can't remember the character's name, but they framed it as like them traveling throughout time, learning about the multiverse, and then what we got was the what they call it self-cessed story between him and Sylvie, and it didn't really do any favors to Loki's actual character. So it didn't have the character development stuff that we got from a lot of these shows. And while yes, it technically pushed forward the plot, most of that happened from a monologue in the very last episode of the show. So it felt like those other 5 episodes were just us kind of meandering around, and it didn't really hit. It didn't hit the plot progression, it didn't hit the character development. So it's like, what have you given us?
All right, that's a pretty good one. I enjoy it. I like that idea. I've seen this show, so it's an interest. It's a different way. Like it seems to me like the Disney Plus shows kind of model themselves differently than the MCU does in the films, because
Mhm.
I think they want to show either the softer side or the darker side at times, like WandaVision. Kind
Right.
of. Or be a little bit more avant-garde with how they present things, and so it's interesting because a lot of that can be disconnected from the MCU in that
Mhm.
respect.
Yeah. And I think that's, like outside of like the heel thing, like I think that's fine.
Mhm.
Because like I said, a lot of these shows I feel like they either do a lot of character work, like WandaVision did, like Miss Marvel did, like you could even argue that Falcon and Winter Soldier did. Or they like do stuff that like progresses plot. Like, What If kind of showed us what the multiverse was like and things like that. Moon Knight, established his whole character, etc. But for me, it's just like, okay, so which one of these things are you doing?
Yeah, you riled up the chat here a little bit
I
too.
figured that would happen.
So Tiffany says she would agree with the DC comments about so much potential but lost it, and then she goes, "Oh no, I love Loki." But Vanessa's behind you. She says it didn't make it. I didn't make it past the first couple of episodes. It didn't grab me, though. I love Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not picture anybody else but Tom Hiddleston
right.
as Loki. But
And I think, I think what really kind of got me with Loki was like, I really enjoyed that first episode. I
mm,
thought that first episode was probably the best first episode of any of these shows, but
mhm.
it felt like it was just all downhill from there.
She says I was disappointed and I didn't care for it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that happens. I mean, again, I think there's a certain disconnection
Yeah.
between the MCU audience and these shows, and they gravitate toward one or the other, and there's
Right.
not really a cohesiveness to it. As you know, I think if I may, the hill I would die on is that Endgame should have ended the MCU, and we should be moving
Mm.
forward, because I feel like we're never going to care about they're never going to capture that magic that they had with the first few, especially from Infinity War on. They're just not going to it seemed like they were finally finding their footing with the characters that they had established and got through, and Endgame was really a satisfying way to kind of, I mean, it was tough, and I did like Far From Home, and I did like the follow up in Spider-Man about it, but it was really tough for me. Like, I just watched Wakanda Forever, it just seems like they're on a different wave now, and it just doesn't seem connected, and it could be just total burnout. We've had so many of these, but for me, I think with Endgame, it's going to be tough. And Secret Wars is one of my favorite comics of all time,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm totally worried they're going to destroy it, because it's going to be such a tough one to kind of portray, especially if you're not going to have Captain America and Iron Man. Captain America, especially because Captain America plays a pivotal role in
Right.
Secret Wars.
Right.
So
Right.
but I don't know. But the Doctor Doom scene at the end. I'm spoiling something for everybody, but there's the end credit scene at Wakanda Forever where Doctor Doom shows up, and that to me got me a little bit excited. But I really felt like Endgame really did everything that I wanted it to do. We good? You don't have a rebuttal?
Ah, so I feel you. I feel you on one hand because I do
Uh-huh.
think that the things have like shifted some. Um, but on the other hand, I think that it's an interesting shift. Like it's like you said, like they're doing stuff from like a different perspective now.
Mhm.
Um, So yeah, like I think that Endgame was kind of like the end of that particular era, but
Yeah.
I'm still interested to see where this next era kind of goes. Um, Actually, that would be an interesting thing because you would have people that would agree with you, but like, so it's a hot take, but it's not because I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there is also some ideas of with this particular panel that there's degrees of
Mhm.
variation, right? And that there's going to be some that agree with some of the things that are being said, but then they have a rebuttal for some of the
Right,
other things that they don't say, right?
right.
And that's where this really gets fun, I'm sure.
Yes, it does. It does.
Vanessa says she had the same issue with Stargate that she has with Loki, but I just watched the entire first season and didn't like it. My hubby argues with me about it all the time. They're really just, I understand, Joe. I love the men, and they mess it up every time they make a movie about them. Twice now they've messed up the
Oh,
Phoenix.
X-Men.
And then Stargate got better after the first season. I don't know. I thought the first season was probably one of its better ones, but we can debate that all the time. I'm taking up Mr. Haynes' time with all this. So let's focus in here. So we'll look forward to all of that, and you guys can be a part of the fantasy track and
Yes.
join the hill and put your own die on the hill subjects out there for everybody to talk about if you come to Multiverse and join us. And so we're real excited about that. Is You're also a fantasy author, and you tend to like to go into the YA action side of things.
Mhm.
Was that something that you just gravitated toward? Was it just a natural fit for you? How did you get to that side of the fantasy world? Because you do have a deep love for the epic and the darker fantasy as well.
Yes.
But for your writing aspect, it's a little bit of the lighter side of fantasy.
So, I guess I have to like kind of start off with this. I started writing stories like books and stuff when I was 9 years old.
Mm,
So I was kind of cultivated in that kind of like YA type of realm. So it is kind of like a natural fit for me because it's just what I know like the best. And and it works for me, I think, because just even though it is like a YA, so there are some things you can't like just go into like that.
mm,
I grew up reading stuff like Animorphs that talked about the horrors of war with some teenage protagonists. So content like getting into some darker stuff has never really been an issue for me because like I know that it can be done. I know that it can happen. So I especially like it because you get to kind of dabble into some like more serious things, but you also
mhm,
can present it in an audience in a way that it's really what's the word inviting or really kind of like accessible. That's what I say, accessible to a lot of people because you will have people older than me who will only read YA because it is something that they have loved for so long. So yeah, it was a natural fit for me, and it's a space I like occupying.
How much is representation important to you in what you write?
Extraordinarily,
Mhm,
because one of the things that kind of motivated me to write was, like I said, I was reading these different things. I grew up watching stuff like Power Rangers and things like that, and I decided I wanted to like create my own stories like this. And it took a little while and took some eye-opening experiences from like my parents and things of that sort that made me recognize that as much as I loved these spaces that I mean these books and games and shows things I was watching, it was rare that they reflected, like who I was. It was
mhm,
rare that you had, like black protagonists. It was extremely rare that you had queer characters, let alone protagonists.
mhm.
So being able to, bring that into my writing, my hope is that I'll be able to present that for someone else so that they wouldn't have that same experience that I did trying to find themselves in it.
That's awesome. Tell everybody a little bit about your series and what it's about, and give us a little overview of what you're currently working on.
Absolutely. Okay. So my series is called the Elemental series. It It's a team-based series, so it follows a number of different kids with the powers to control the elements. So we're talking standard elements like fire, water, electricity, but also some more kind of abstract things like, we have some with psychic abilities, we have some with different magical abilities and things of that sort. So it follows them as they are this chosen group of kids who have these powers that are used to protect and really save their world from different dangers. So because they are kind of chosen, like this is something that they're destined to do, you get a bunch of people who are kind of just forced together by that destiny. So there's some headbutting. So just as much as it is, about them working together to save the world, it's about them working together because we have people from different walks of life. We have characters who are from privileged backgrounds, where they're coming from people who are like mayors and like royalty. You have people who lived on the streets. You have orphans. You have people with huge families. So you have all these different types of characters that are coming together to really try to achieve this common goal. So for me, I think it's important to kind of just show that no matter who you are, where you come from, what you look like, anybody can be super.
So how many books? You have 2 books out, right? Two of
I
the
have
series,
two.
right?
I have two now. Working on the third. I actually have to reach back out to my artist about some stuff with the third soon. But yeah,
Are we going to have a third one by the time Multiverse comes around?
you know, who knows? But I don't know. I'm working on it, but I don't want to. I don't want
Yeah,
to rush.
yeah.
I want to try to get it out soon, but there are some things, stuff is always changing, and I'm changing even as a writer. So I really want to make sure that as I push forward, especially with these third and fourth books that I'm working on, that they're reflective of who I am and my ideals and kind of what I want to put out.
Mhm. Tiffany says she now has more books to add to her TBR. So there you
Yay!
go. um, so tell everybody where they can find out more of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and follow you and all those wonderful things.
Okay. So I have a website. It's mhaines.org. It's under construction now because, like I said, I'm going through some rebranding type things. But you can find me there. You can shoot me a message from there. You can find information about just me as a creator in general. You can also find me on social media on pretty much everything. My username is Loose as a Deuce. So it's LOOSEASADEUCE. Or if you search M Haynes, I'll probably pop up anyway. So you can find me there. I'm talking about pretty much everything. So on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. And you want to talk some elemental stuff, fantasy stuff, I'm here for it.
Nice. Yeah, and we'll look forward to what will be another wonderful fantasy track. I'm sure
Yes.
you've got some really great stuff planned. And thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to me today. I really do appreciate it.
No problem. I've
It was
enjoyed it.
it was awesome to finally have a chat face to face like this and do that. And I'm definitely going to stop by the track and enjoy some of the things that you're doing. So thank
Yeah.
you very
No
much.
problem. Hopefully you get to the hill this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. That Friday night's really tricky, man. It's like there's so much good stuff. Like last year, I had to go between two, and I was like, okay, that's a little much, even just in that little hallway, it was still
Right.
really. I was going between the Monster Mash one and then Vanessa had her story time thing going on.
Oh yeah.
And I had to go to that. So I was like, I had to go to that because that was something that I promised her I would do. So, so that was like, and then I was like, oh man, the hill's on right now. Gosh. But I'm going to figure out a way. We'll get in there. One of these years, you'll see me. But thank you so much, Marcus. It was nice to talk to you and chat. And
Same.
have a wonderful rest of your evening, sir.
Thank you all.
All right, we're gonna take a little bit of a break here, and then we're gonna bring on Mr. Jim Nettle. So enjoy this little bit from from one of the Multiverse sponsors.
Regardless what's out there for you, your body is your temple. Isn't it time for you to take control of your own fitness and well-being? to tell your story. In Dungeons & Dragons, chaotic good is a character alignment that reflects one whose heart is pure, but who does not take the law at face value. They question authority and forge their own path based on their own value system and morals. They value freedom and individuality over social norms and rules. CG Fitness views fitness and health in the same way. We are client-centered, body-positive. We focus on the individual client's needs and goals without trying to fit them into the standards set up by the fitness industry. Each client has a unique background, goal, and body that deserves to be valued and considered when working together. We don't expect all of our clients to look, act, and feel or need the same thing. Some clients want weight loss programs. Some join us for the pain management and reduction. Others have worked with us for pre-surgical body change needs. No matter why you come to us, we will find a way to help you level up. There is no one-size-fits-all magical answer to fitness and health goals, and there is no one-size-fits-all body shape. There's no quick, easy route to take. Making health improvements is hard work, but we are here to guide you through the journey. CG Fitness is about making improvements at your pace for you. So now let's pull out your character sheet and roll for that initiative. So if you're interested in how Kira and her team can help you, you can go to chaoticgoodfitness.com/services. So choose your path to better health and good fitness and tell your own story at chaoticgoodfitness.com.
All right, and look, we've got a gaggle here. Hello, Mr. Nettles. Oh,
Joe,
I don't hear you.
Yeah, I told you if we did this, you're in trouble.
Joe, I got Jim Nichols is probably the most subdued person out here. This is Big Stats Buck, the mouth of the South, and so glad you guys could come out to the Loch Norman Highland Games and join us. So, in a moment, you're going to get to listen to Jim Nettles, and I tell you what a boring guy. You hang out with him. Oh, geez, crow. He'll put you to sleep in about 5.5 minutes.
He does that quite often for me. So yes, I'm well aware of that. But
You know what it cost me to get a hype man? I mean, really?
Hi, sir. How are you? So you're deep into the Highland Games tonight.
And I'm wearing a fucking bow tie for you.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, he's bad. So yeah, I'm here.
Beer cooler is relative. You don't have enough beer. Hi, friends.
Hello.
See, Joe, I warned you. I told you. I warned you. So, what? Hi, everybody, from here in live, because not sober, not close. I bring you bagpipes, but we're here to talk about multiverse.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's a great way to bring in multiverse. I mean, the bagpipes work pretty good with it. So, you know, I don't know how deep we want to get because you are a little bit lubricated. So
we can go as deep as you want to go. So, how many years have you known me?
What you really are getting here tonight is a preview of what Jim and I do at Multiverse from probably 10:30 on till the sun comes up. We've had these conversations in this state and in this kind of chaotic environment before. So,
but granted, I was nowhere near as dapper.
True
outfit just for this.
Yeah, Anita says she's enjoying the bagpipes, so that's good. So
yeah, are the pipes too loud? I can walk.
No, not at all. No. It's like the perfect background music. As long as they don't play anything that would get me copyright struck, I'm cool. But
I don't think they're that sober.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
This is what I'm gonna drag you out to when you're out here.
Awesome! I can't wait. That's awesome. Uh, you have a unique perspective in terms of what Multiverse offers because you have your hands in a lot of what it does, and especially like the vendorship. You've been in the author's alley, selling books. You're on a lot of the panels.
Work that out.
Is that something that you? I mean, you do that for a lot of cons, but what is different about Multiverse for you that you enjoy doing those aspects of it?
So let's talk about the difference between Multiverse and a lot of the other conventions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, like next weekend I'll be at JordanCon. A couple weeks from now I will be at Atomicon. I'll be at Con Carolinas in Charlotte.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the different conventions. They all have a different personality. They all have a different purpose.
Yeah.
Multi is very interesting because going back to the original days of it, and when Jesse and Allie and everybody came and said, "Hey, will you come do it?" Here's the thing about the convention for me. It is geared towards craft. It is geared towards the business, and it's geared towards good product. It is geared towards taking people to get to the point where they are actually trying to be good writers.
Mm.
So, I mean, and this is nothing against all the other conventions I do. Everybody has their own purpose.
Yeah.
So, for example, JordanCon next weekend, it is very much about Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson, that universe, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, but it's a very fandom heavy con. Atomicon, it's a very small, very niche con. If you're in Charleston, South Carolina, it's a great, fun convention. We go have a great time. You get to network with people like no other business. We set up our year sitting in the bar at Atomicon in Charleston because, okay, we're not sober. I'm not sober now. It's okay. But Con Carolinas is coming, and first weekend in June in Charlotte. If you're a writer and you're in the Southeast, Con Carolinas is kind of the second convention in the Southeast behind DragonCon, right?
Mm-hmm.
To come and both get craft and writerly shit and all the good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Multi is a very unique, very diverse audience, and it's a very diverse voice because very much it is focused on bringing voices that don't get exposed in other places.
Mm-hmm.
So fundamentally, old white guy. I'm the minority there.
Yeah.
I'm very privileged to be able to be in that position to come and bring.
You're getting pretty old.
Yeah, well, you got to deal with the friends I got in the background.
No worries.
I mean, because they're all wanting to watch this shit, and I got a whole audience over here.
Nice.
But Multi has a very interesting perspective. It is very dedicated to an audience that does not get that kind of voice. And I mean, so looking at, by the way, say hi.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Mel.
Yes, I drug Mel Todd out. John will be out here tomorrow. So Harkness will be out here tomorrow and everything else. All right.
Nice.
So, but I mean, again, Multi is a very interesting, diverse audience. And it is a lot of professionals, but it's also a lot of people that are just diverse voices trying to find their footing. So when we do a lot of the conventions we do, it is a lot of pros. Multi is a mix of the pros and people with those diverse voices.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And
I love that.
And I've made a lot of really good friends there over the years. When they were looking at starting it up, and I mean, they were a couple of years out from even starting it up. Jesse.
Hi, Dad.
And Allie and so one of the people that yeah, you're gonna have to deal with all the people coming in. It's fine.
No worries. It's fine.
But looking at all of the views and all the voices of everybody that's coming into the event, nobody's bringing me alcohol. What? So
do you like IPAs?
Oh God, no. But This is the exact opposite of multiverse, other than bringing alcohol. But looking at multi in Atlanta, everybody can get in and get out.
Yeah.
If you want to meet people in diverse voices that are making a difference, that are making a living and actually making their way through the space, whether it's POCs, whether it is people of diverse sexual orientation, regardless of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
if you're coming to multi and you're coming to Atlanta, you're going to meet people that are making a very big difference in the business. And often you're going to get to meet people that don't get heard anywhere else.
Nice.
The fact that I am allowed to come in and be the old fat white guy in a kilt. Yeah, right now it's fine. But the fact that I'm the old white dude coming in is very much kind of a privilege for me, because I'm coming in saying, okay, how do we operate this as a business? How do we do these things and look at it from that perspective? Because my goal and my driver is, if you're coming in, make a damn living at it, or at least make a difference. And this is
there does seem to be that focus for you, especially in this con. There's a lot, and there's opportunity for you to really give the vast amount of knowledge that you have, being the old white guy. Because I'm right there with you. It's funny because when we sit together on the panel, it's just like, what are these two old white guys doing right in the middle?
So again, anytime I'm doing anything, it's always about what can I bring, what can I contribute, but I also want to hear what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Because not only do I teach, I learn, I listen. I come to any front, and it's a question of what are other people doing, because no matter what I do, I can never touch everything, right?
Yeah.
No matter what I do, I have a very particular viewpoint. I have a very particular audience. I can do a lot of stuff with data analytics, right? And I do a lot of stuff with data analytics. But at the end of the day, that personal touch that says my audience is this.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do with data that's going to change that.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is this. Here's one of the things I love about multiverse. Is you get a lot of people with a lot of different opinions, a lot of different voices. You put them all in one place. And the number of people that have not yet had a chance to publish anything, and you put them all in the place with a lot of voices, a lot of sides, and a lot of opinions, and we all get to sit there and go, you know what? My theory is this. What's yours?
Yeah.
Sitting out next to that lake, next to the bar at 2 a.m, and you remember what we did last year, right?
Yeah.
The conversations that happen out there are priceless.
Yeah.
The reason we do conventions are not the panels I sit on. It's not the bullshit I spin. It's not all the stuff I opine, right?
Yeah.
It's the friendships I get to build. I mean, you and I threw this stuff because of Bobby Nash. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
Bobby's like a nexus of everything, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the friendship you and I have had over the years, the bullshit you've had to listen to me spin, right? The ability to come and sit down with a lot of people that have skills and knowledge,
Yeah.
and willing to share and talk about it, sitting around those little glass bead fires sitting outside next to the lake.
Yeah.
Multiverse.
Yeah, and I always find with Multiverse that's different from other cons I've attended is that there's that personal connection that you get with people, and I always come away from Multiverse having 2 or 3 new friends.
Yeah, 2 or 3, you're slacking.
I'm being conservative, but I usually a dozen or so, but same difference.
I mean, you and I both know I do a lot of events, right?
Yeah.
A wide variety. That's why I'm sitting here in a kilt and a bow tie, right? God knows you will never see me in a bow tie again. But at the same time, the opportunity to meet people is invaluable. Sometimes you make friends for a weekend. Sometimes you make friends for life.
Yeah.
That's what Multiverse offers people that no other convention does in the Southeast.
All right.
The reason you fly from the West Coast, and I'm still trying to get you to move into my area.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off the air. That's more of a conversation between you and I. But yeah, I wanted to touch on one thing before I let you go, and I'm going to let you go and enjoy yourself. But I really there's fun things that happen at Multiverse, and you've taken part in the one that I really have seen a couple times, and that's the Monster Mash one.
Oh God, it's fun.
and I'm curious. Tell everybody a little bit about the Monster Mash. I'm gonna have Lisa on next week, so we'll go more into depth about it. But talk a little bit about that, participating in that, and what you love about it.
All right. So before we get to that, because since we mentioned Lisa, Lisa founded the Speculative Fiction Academy.
Yeah.
I am your business track director, so I'm the director of all the business stuff for the Speculative Academy. Starting that, the gear of that was looking at business for everybody that was not an old fat white guy. So why is an old fat white guy involved, right? I did it because when Lisa and I were talking, I'm like, I believe everybody, regardless of anything else, if you're creative, you have a right and an obligation to make money from your work.
Yeah.
And Lisa created the SFA, and she's allowed me to be the business track director, right?
Yeah.
And so when we look at things like the Monster Mash, when you come to Multiverse, here's the thing. If I come to Multi and I'm looking for hardcore workshops where I'm sitting in there with an editor who's tearing my ass apart, going and saying, your writing is okay, here's where you fucked up.
Yeah.
They're going to tear you a new asshole because they're a good editor, and you know what? As a writer, a good editor will tear you a new asshole. Everything they're going to bleed across the page all over the place and tell you you're a damn good writer. My mother was an English teacher. I grew up underneath a red pen. I long ago, if I had feelings, don't have it anymore, or a soul. But that's it.
Literally, I can make it be.
But then if I come to Multi and I am at something where I am sitting in the middle of fun, and this is an event I've gotten a chance to do every year, and it's the Monster Mash. And what happens is this. So as a storyteller, as a bullshitter, as somebody having fun, what is the most fun thing to do? Have somebody present a monster versus a monster, Godzilla versus Mothra, right?
Yeah.
Well, what happens when you have no idea who the hell the monster versus the monster is, right? Google is your friend, and you got like 30 seconds to come up with some reason you're better than they are.
Yeah.
I have a track record of beating their ass. I have no idea who the hell they are, but it's fine. So if you come in the room and you want to be a storyteller, the great value of coming to Multiverse is this. If you are a good storyteller, it will make you great. If you want to be a storyteller, we'll teach you how the rest of us bullshitters do it to make you think you're at least adequate, because God knows I'm full of shit, right? This exercise, this idea of going in and having fun, because it is one of the most entertaining things you can possibly do, right?
Yeah.
To walk in and have that opportunity to spin bullshit and stuff on the fly and have to coordinate with other writers, because coordinating with other writers is like a paradox in physics, right? You're undoing the universe, and you're having an undoing of the universe against another undoing of the universe, right?
Yeah.
So having that opportunity, having the ability to come in and spin bullshit, and especially when the people on the other side of your friends, like Darren Kennedy, you know, the ability to walk in and say, you know, you're full of shit and here's why, and slip in the little private jokes, and a room full of people. There's nothing better than on my cold, cold-hearted, dark crevice of the soul, that small chunk of charcoal that forms a heart, right?
Yeah.
To watch the moderator go, fuck it, I'm leaving.
Yeah, and it is moderated by one of the best in the business, in Mark Abbott, and he's just amazing.
Mark is so much fun. I enjoy giving him so much shit, and he walks in and goes, "Oh my god, you again." This is honestly, this is what the entire con circuit is about.
Yeah.
This is what networking is about. So for everybody out there that are, if you're a hardcore writer and you're wanting to sell more stuff, cons will help you move books.
Oh. And we just lost Jim Nettles, so I think that was pretty profound the way it came down. I think he turned off his own phone there. He was having quite the fun over there in the Highland Games, and we appreciate him jumping in. You guys can go check out jamespnettles.net and Continual Convention, which is his thing that he does on Facebook. It's panels, and they cover conventions, and they do virtual aspects for conventions and things like that. It's a really wonderful service. And of course, the Speculative Fiction Academy, which I am also a teacher at, or an instructor at. I do screenplay writing for the Speculative Fiction Academy, which he was talking about, that he's the dean of. He's going to jump back in here real quick.
Yeah. Let's try that one more time.
I was just giving everybody your links so that they can go find you, because you've entertained us to no end. So
Or another died because somebody walked over. Use your arm, pretty boy. Or plate is not here. So anyway, but anyway, looking at opportunities we have.
Joe, you do know he's full of shit at all times, right?
Yeah, of course. But that's what I love about him, Mel. That's what I love about him. So it's endearing.
Fucker. For your bastard. So anyway, but anyway, when we look at multi, it is the most unique environment I've been in, because it offers a place where everybody's having fun. They're getting the business. They're getting creativity, right? But again, there's voices there I don't anywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at people like Maurice Broadus, if you look at a lot of these places, if you look at a lot of the voices, and I'm sitting around a bunch of people, so hang on. I'll be back. So I know I'll be back. Yeah, I know it's nothing more fun than looking at a dark screen. But again, when I look at multi as an event, it is very unique. When I look at the people that put it together, it is a unique event.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at how they market it and fundamentally what they do to educate people,
mm-hmm.
It's something like I can't find anywhere else in the entire Southeast. I mean, I do a lot of events. I do a lot of conventions.
Yeah.
I'll be at JordanCon next weekend. a mile away from where Multiverse is held, right?
Yeah.
I'll be, and I'll be there for the entire weekend. Honestly, I prefer the Multi Hotel. We just did an event there a couple weeks ago, for a client. I much prefer the Multi Hotel because you get to hang out and it's a much more engaging environment.
Mm.
And, when I look at conventions, every one of them has its own personality.
Yeah.
Every event, as I look like Renfield in the dark, every event has its own personality. Every event has the elements to it that make it unique. When I look at Multi, the things that make it unique are they actively work to find voices that will not get heard anywhere else, or that if they're heard, they're the minority.
Yeah.
For me, old fat white guy, right? I'm in the minority at Multi, and I'm very happy about that. And I mean, it's that balance between how do we get people of color? How do we get people of different genders? How do we get these different identities out there? Again, I feel very privileged to be asked back this year, with Continual. We helped to bring Multi virtual.
Yeah.
During the grand pandemic years, right?
Yeah.
We've done a lot of stuff, but what's important to me is what do we get to deliver for people?
Yeah.
What do people learn? What's the experience? And Multi is a very small event. It's a very small convention, but it's one where you can get to meet and talk with and be exposed to writers, publishers. I mean, I can tell you a number of people I've hired to do work for us.
Yeah.
That, have come in from the Multi universe. And this is what I think is important. Multi is very much an environment that encourages those voices. Oh, yeah, there you can see me again. Multi's an environment that encourages those voices that are not heard anywhere else. Or if they are heard, it's, 1 in 10, 1 in 20.
Yeah.
So.
And for those voices, it's a bigger scale. So.
Yeah. And to walk in and say, look at, Glenn Paris pinged me tonight. Glenn is pinging me going, hey, we're doing a project. And Glenn is a fantastic guy. He's a physician. He's a writer. He's done Marvel stuff. He's done part of the Black Panther anthology. Glenn is a great guy. And looking at Glenn and looking at some of the other people that have been out there in the environment, people who have knowledge and have skills that aren't getting exposure. What do you do with people that aren't? And this is what Multi is for. Yeah, if you're somebody who doesn't have a voice and hasn't been there, Multi is the place you can come to and get a voice. Yeah. Con Carolina is a place you can come to and get a voice, but Multi is really a place that you can come to and get a voice and meet people with that voice and actually have people that want to change the industry.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And that's the difference. Because again, I do a lot of conventions and I am very open to, I don't very much, I'm open to different ideas, different, again, POCs. If I look at, people of color, I grew up in a very small town in the South where, again, old fat white boy, but I still was the minority. But I understand where my privilege comes from and all the rest of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a couple of people and I had that conversation last year where I was like, look, yeah, I am the old fat white guy. I do da-da-da. I'm out here at Scottish Games, right? Mm-hmm. One of the people I got to meet tonight is the Scottish Chief, who is the guest of honor, who is also from London and is of color.
Nice.
I was trying to get him drug over here to do this, but he was like, "No, we're London."
That's fine.
But again, when I look at overall what we're looking at and how things work, I think the more open voices we can get, the more ideas we can get out there, the more different opinions we can get in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The more of that we do, the more value we bring. Because again, I know I can tell you a lot of stuff, data, analytics. I can walk in, I mean, we do this for clients. I can tell you a lot of stuff about business in general. Great. But again, at the end of the day, my voice as a writer, as a creator, as everything else that I do, with all the stuff that I do, I can still only give you the experience and I know and I have, or that I've been exposed to. And coming to somewhere like Multi means that you get exposed to voices you will not otherwise. And what does exposure mean? Exposure means I get to meet that person face to face.
Yeah.
Exposure means they get to influence me. You know, we're talking about, you know, Monster Mash. Monster versus Monster. It's a great deal of fun. But the reason it's fun is this. My perspective and the perspective of everybody else in my group versus the perspective of everybody else in their group, right? And there's no harm, no foul. Other than the fact we're all having a damn good time doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well,
what's important.
yeah. Well, let's get you back to having a good time over at the Scottish Games, and thanks for coming in and jumping in here. And I'm sorry, say that again.
I said I warned you.
Yeah, you did. But I'm happy. I'm happy you came on and talked about it. That was fantastic. Thank you, sir, so much. I'll see you in a few weeks, and yeah, have fun, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Well, and again, if anybody has questions, I'm always happy to pontificate. I don't know if it's worth anything, but you know, I'll pontificate. But Joe, thanks for having me on as always, and you know, love you, brother, and
All right, love you too, man.
I hope everybody else does come out and check out Multi because it's a very different environment from any other one I've ever done.
Nice. All right, man. Well, have fun at your Scottish Games, and we'll talk soon.
I got to start dealing with people in a couple of hours, so you know, fun. Who's got time for that? Bring on the field.
All right, man. Take
Later,
care.
Joe.
Bye. All right. So each time that we do this show, and we're going to do these hopefully every week. In fact, I do have it pretty scheduled for most of the weeks, except for the first Friday of the month, which we do late night news, which involves people who are part of Multiverse already as well. And I'm sure we'll have some news about that because we have a very, one of the major players of Multiverse doing the news with me. So, and that's Miss Vanessa. So, but that is perspectives that you're only going to get here, and we appreciate the opportunity to present that to you tonight and throughout the rest of the spring and summer, and hopefully you'll get a lot of diverse aspects of what Multiverse is all about and how it is. Look at this great shirt, by the way. This is the Multiverse shirt from last year. This is the one I voted for. They printed both of them. There was two there was a dragon one too, which most people voted for the dragon one, but I like this one. I think this is awesome. Anyway, but that's part of what we do, what we're going to be doing for this show, and talking all about the con and giving you all insight. So if this is going to be your first time coming, like Tiffany mentioned, she was coming for the first time, you're going to get a good sense of what to plan for and what to get going, and you're going to see and what to go to, and all this fun stuff. You're not going to be able to get to all of it, which means you just got to come back the next time and do things you didn't do the first time, right? But you're going to get a good sense of it, and hopefully we'll bring that to you. And part of that is each week I'm going to focus on an aspect of Multiverse that is kind of unique to Multiverse. And one of those is this particular thing that Multiverse does every single year, and it's put on by a wonderful, wonderful chef and just a cool person in Amy. And so this is the first aspect we're going to focus on, and then I'll come back and wrap things up for everybody. And now another reason why, among many, you should be attending Multiverse. Reason 1001. The Con Suite. At Multiverse, they believe in serving up real food and good times all weekend long. It's located in the Presidential Suite at the Westin. The Multiverse Con Suite is a place where you can get tasty meals if you don't want to leave the con, as well as in between light meals, snacks, and drinks, all free with your Multiverse membership. Con Suite serves meals at the times listed on the website and keeps a grab-to-go snacks and drinks during all open hours to feed all of you. The awesome Amy Anderchuk, better known as the Kitchen Witch, is the mastermind behind all of the incredible meals that you get. What are you waiting for? Join us today. Go to multiversecon.org and register to become a member of the Multiverse. One of the cool parts about Multiverse, the Con Suite, and it's just so awesome. And it's a really, really, I'm just so blessed to be able to talk a lot about one of my favorite events of the year. And we're going to do so next week. We've got another great, we're going to talk pretty much horror related aspects of Multiverse. Next week, I have Elmarie Wood and Mark Abbott joining me on the show, and they're going to talk about what they do and how they do it. We've kind of mentioned both of them tonight, and we're going to talk directly to them next week. And then I'll also feature another aspect of the Multiverse Con that's unique to the Multiverse Con. And we'll do that each and every week here, every Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern. So I hope you come and join us again next time. And remember that it's always time to go indie now. Thank you so much for joining us. And I just realized I didn't upload the outro. So hang on just a second. I'll dance a little bit. That's not what I wanted to do, but that's okay. That being said, thank you so much for joining us. And it's always time to go indie now. We'll see you next week, everybody.